Imagine scattered tribes living on the edges of Asia, constantly fighting for survival. Within just a few decades, they transform into the largest contiguous empire in human history, an empire that terrified kings, brought down great cities, and opened trade routes between East and West. This is the story of the Mongols, a people who emerged from the frozen steppes to change the world forever. From nothing to power. In the 12th century, Mongolia was a harsh land. Tribes scattered across the steppe, living a nomadic life of herding, riding horses, and endless conflict. Amid this chaos, a boy named Temujin was born. His childhood was marked by poverty and hardship after his father's death. He and his family struggled to survive against the cruelty of nature and hostile tribes. But this boy would grow to become the greatest conqueror in history, the man we know as Genghis Khan, uniting the Mongols. Genghis Khan was not just a warrior, he was a master strategist. He forged clever alliances with some tribes, crushed his rivals with a disciplined army built on loyalty and skill rather than noble blood. In 1206, Temujin stood before the united tribes and declared himself Khan of all Mongols. And so, the Mongol Empire was born. The unstoppable war machine. What made the Mongols nearly invincible? They had the best weapon of their time, fast, resilient horses that could travel vast distances. Warriors trained in horseback archery, shooting with deadly accuracy even at full gallop. A strict military system, units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, turning chaos into a perfectly organized war machine. With this power, Genghis Khan set out to conquer the world. The relentless expansion. He crushed the Jin dynasty in northern China, destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia after brutal battles, wiping out entire cities as punishment for betrayal, invaded Russia, Poland, and Hungary, pushing the Mongol armies to the gates of Europe. They moved like the wind, unstoppable and terrifying. Some kingdoms surrendered before the Mongols even arrived, just to avoid a similar fate. Governing an empire the size of a continent. Despite their reputation for destruction, the Mongols had an extraordinary talent for governance. They created strict laws known as the Yasa, practiced religious tolerance. Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and Jews all lived freely under Mongol rule. Built a postal relay system, the Yam, that carried messages quickly across the empire, made trade routes safe, reviving the Silk Road and linking China with Europe. They turned fear into the foundation of a new global order. The Mongols in India. The Mongols in India, known as the Mughal Empire, represented one of the most fascinating transformations of Mongol legacy, from conquerors into builders of civilization. It began in 1526 when Zahir-ud-Din Muhammad Babur, a descendant of both Genghis Khan and Tamerlane, entered India from Central Asia and defeated the Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, at the Battle of Panipat using advanced tactics and gunpowder weapons, establishing the foundation of a new empire. Unlike the destructive image often associated with the Mongols, the Mughals in India became renowned for their administration, tolerance, and cultural brilliance. Under Akbar the Great, the empire expanded across most of the subcontinent, adopting policies of religious harmony and administrative reforms that created stability and prosperity. His successors, Jahangir and Shah Jahan, elevated art, literature, and architecture to new heights, with Shah Jahan commissioning the Taj Mahal in memory of his wife, Mumtaz Mahal, creating one of the most iconic monuments in the world. Mughal architecture, combining Persian, Islamic, and Indian styles, flourished in structures like the Red Fort, Fatehpur Sikri, and countless gardens designed as earthly paradises. Their administration was sophisticated, with an organized taxation system based on land productivity, and their economic policies made India one of the richest regions of the early modern world, fueling global trade in textiles, spices, and jewels. Yet the empire's strength declined after Aurangzeb, whose military expansion reached its peak, but whose stricter religious policies weakened internal unity, and following his death in 1707, the empire fragmented, leaving space for regional powers like the Marathas and foreign actors like the British East India Company to rise. By the mid-19th century, the once mighty Mughals had been reduced to a symbolic authority until the British formally abolished the dynasty after the 1857 Indian Rebellion. Despite its decline, the legacy of the Mughals endures in India's language, culture, cuisine, and especially its art and monuments, with the Taj Mahal standing as an eternal reminder of how the descendants of the Mongols reshaped India into one of the most dazzling civilizations of its time. The beginning of the end. But nothing lasts forever. After Genghis Khan's death, his empire was divided among his heirs. Separate Khanates emerged: the Golden Horde in Russia, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Yuan dynasty in China. Internal rivalries, the vast size of the empire, and the rise of new powers like the Ottomans and Russians weakened them. Gradually, the Mongols blended into the cultures they once ruled, and their empire faded away. The Mongol Empire was not just a wave of destruction, it reshaped the world. It connected continents through trade, spread technologies and knowledge across borders, and proved that even a small nation, united under a visionary leader, could shake the entire world. But the question remains, was the legacy of the Mongols humanity's greatest achievement or its darkest catastrophe? Question for the viewers: if you lived in the time of Genghis Khan, would you fight to the death or surrender to save your life against his unstoppable armies?
Dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesem Jahr für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit